Hey there. So it's a holiday weekend here in Canada. It's Thanksgiving weekend. It's Thanksgiving on Monday. So you're welcome to celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving with me. But for the tip today, or for the topic today, I've got just something short and sweet we're going to talk about that hopefully you'll find interesting or entertaining. I'm going to tell you the difference today between confusion and diffusion. And in cryptographic terms, these have very specific meaning. And if you don't have them clear in your head, you could get confused. Come on, you knew I was going to make that joke, right? And you stuck around for it. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between confusion and diffusion. First, let's get a couple of terms straight. When we're talking in cryptography about unencrypted data, we generically just call that plain text. And, it may not be text, it could be music or an image or whatever the data is, but we generically call the unencrypted data the plain text. So you take the plain text and you run it through a cipher, and on the other side, you get the encrypted blob of data. We generically call that the ciphertext, right? So got to have those straight in your mind first. Plain text, unencrypted, ciphertext, encrypted. Okay? All right. So we've got some plain text that we want to encrypt. We run it through the cipher, and we get our ciphertext. Now, that ciphertext, there should be no way by looking at it that you can work back what the key was and what the encryption algorithm was. Like, there should be no information leaking from the ciphertext. And when that happens, we say, hey, this algorithm, it has a high degree of confusion to it. Just means that when you look at that ciphertext, you can't work back any of that information, right? So for example, say I have a text document, right, with 4 repeating words, and I run it through my encryption algorithm. When I look at the ciphertext, I shouldn't be able to look at it and say, oh yeah, there's a repeating word here, and it's probably the bit length was probably this long. Like, you shouldn't be able to work out any of that information. That would be bad if you could do that. It would mean the encryption algorithm was broken, right? All right, so continuing this example, say in my list of 4 words that I'm encrypting, what if I change just one character in one word? How should that affect the ciphertext? Well, you might think that, a little change here, little change over there. No. A little change here should result in a big change over there. And this is what diffusion is, right? When we change any bit in the plain text, or actually any bit in the plain text, will have a significant effect on the ciphertext. We usually say it wants to affect about half the bits of the ciphertext. So that means if I make one little change in my little text document, the ciphertext should be radically different, right? That's diffusion. And that's it between the two of them. Confusion is making sure you can't work back the plain text from the ciphertext. Diffusion means that any change, every bit influences many bits of the ciphertext. And that's really all there is to it. And encryption is pretty solid these days. When implemented correctly with the large key size, it is unbreakable, right? All the news you hear about law enforcement wanting backdoors into encrypted data, well, that's because they can't break it, right? Even quantum computing, that's right around the corner. Sure, that'll break a lot of the older and smaller keyed encryption, but modern 4096-bit encryption, even that's not going to be broken right away. I mean, it will be broken eventually, right? But right away, for right now, things are pretty solid encryption-wise. So anyways, I think I'm going off on a tangent a little bit there. I better get back on track. So there, I've explained the difference between confusion and diffusion in cryptography. Oh, I should mention that, that applies in hashing as well, not just encryption. But the principles are the same, right? Even though hashing is a one-way function and it's not meant to go back the other way. I'm going to do a video about hashing in the upcoming weeks, and maybe that'll become more clear. Anyways, I hope that was entertaining and hope that clears up confusion and diffusion for you. Have a safe holiday weekend.